Hello, welcome to the show. Uh, some time ago, one of my viewers asked for a specific episode, and I'm happy to oblige. It's been a while since it was asked for, so I'm not even sure if they'll see it, and I forget who it was by now, actually. But yeah, they wanted to see the menu functions of the camcorder that I'm currently filming with, which is the JVC GY-HMZ1. JVC made a couple of models. This is the so-called Pro variant. So anyway, I'll just give you a brief look at the basic menu functionality and basic buttons, controls, and other features of this camcorder that I'm currently filming with. Let's take a look. So here she is. A little weathered. I got it used originally. I've bought and resold several camcorders, but this is one I kept. You'll notice it has an aftermarket product here, a cyclopetal 3D lens. These are pretty valuable because they don't make them anymore. They were limited run 3D printed attachments for 3D cameras. And it allows attaching standard sizes of lenses or filters. It has a screw on the inside, a thread, and I have a polarized filter for this for filming outdoors. But this is what it looks like otherwise. And we'll take this off. This is where the audio comes in. It goes, if you have mics connected, like for interviews or other things, this is what I talk into a mic that connects to the XLR inputs. And then it goes through the 3.5 into this input. Unscrew that. And the handle comes off. And by the way, this is not a phantom powered mic input. It is the microphone itself has to be powered, and in my case it uses a AA battery, which lasts a very long time. So there's the basic body of the camera. See, it's very similar to the GS-TD1, except it doesn't have the large silver accent. It has the different words on the side. But otherwise it's very much the same. Here's the lens cover. Very convenient. Keep those lenses dust free. Here's the zoom snapshot button. It does take stills, but they're just like the same quality as individual frames of the video. The back button, 3D on and off. Record. HDMI out if you wanted to connect it directly to a 3D TV. This is for charging if you want to charge the camera directly instead of just using the battery charger, which I typically do. And we'll get to these functions later, but this is what it looks like when you turn it on. That 3D illuminates. It'll tell you if the lens cover is closed. And no memory card inside. And you might notice I put a screen protector on along with a 2.39:1 guidelines for if I'm shooting in scope, so that I can frame my shots right. So now let's get into the menu systems. First off, with regards to the display, you'll notice this button that says 2D, 3D. You can swap between the ways you views. Right now it says 3DL. That means it'll be recording in 3D, but I'm only seeing a 2D preview that's from the left eye. So you press that again. Now it's 3DR, only showing the right eye. Press it again, and you get a glasses-free 3D preview on the screen. It is noticeably lower resolution. Unlike the Sony cameras, which give a beautiful high-resolution 3D picture, this is pretty low resolution, glasses free 3D. and it also is significantly dimmer. So that is one of the weaker features of this. So if you're shooting outdoors, you might have to choose, depending on the conditions, to just preview in 2D only, if it helps you to see it better. Now this one is called 3D LR. This isn't glasses-free 3D, but it shows you both viewpoints overlapped, so you can see the disparity. And then back to 3DL left. Okay, so to see what you've recorded, you press this button in the corner, and normally you would see thumbnails show up here, and you can scroll between them. And this button here switches. It has 64 gigabytes of built-in memory, or you can switch to the SD card, back and forth. Personally, I like having the built-in memory as a backup, because just in case something happens, but I prefer for regular use to use the SD card, because it's much easier than plugging the whole camcorder into the computer. It's much easier for me to just take the card out. Then you press it again to go back to the home page. Now let's see some of the highlights of the menus. Press menu, and you'll notice it does have image stabilization. You can either have it off, on, or extra on. It has 3 megapixel sensors, but full HD is about 2 megapixels, so full frame sensors when they're cropped would probably be closer to that. So you don't get that full featured dynamic stabilization that you get in some camcorders, where it moves like a gyroscope and is really buttery smooth, but it prevents that annoying subtle jitter that you would get with no stabilization. But if you're using a tripod, then off would work just fine. You can do time-lapse, 1 second intervals, 10-second intervals, 80-second intervals, and this could be a great experiment for 3D, because there are plenty of time-lapse videos, but actually none I'm aware of 3D time-lapse videos. So I haven't done that experiment yet, but that would be fun to do, I imagine. System select. This is interesting because many camcorders don't film in 24p, 3D camcorders that is, and even the Sony models, they include 24p, but in 2D only. But this gives you both for 3D, either 60i, which is for all intents and purposes 30 frames a second, or 24p. So if you want to have full HD footage for standard Blu-ray 3D, then 24p is what you want, as well as to have that traditional film look. If you want smoother motion, 30 frames a second, then you would use 60i. Just keep in mind, the Blu-ray 3 codec currently does not allow 30 frames a second at full HD, but you can do it at 720p on Blu-ray, or you can do half-width resolution side by side on Blu-ray. Also, something to note is that when you change from one mode to the other, the camcorder restarts by itself. And also, when it's in 24p mode, you can't press the button on the back to switch to 2D mode. It's 3D only. But with 60, you have both. You can also change sounds, of course. And then settings, clock, obviously, language, monitor brightness, especially when in 3D mode it gets darker, so that might be a concern outdoors. You can also choose where the media you record goes. If you want to make sure it's on the SD card, make sure it's not going to internal memory. 3D display warning, that can get annoying, and it's not scientifically accurate anyway. You know how they were back then with all the disclaimers. Make sure you're over a certain age and all that nonsense. So if you don't want to be harassed with that, you turn the 3D display warning off. And pretty much it's the usual stuff besides that. Now to look at the body of the camcorder and some of the other features. You can of course flip the screen around so you can see yourself when you're filming if necessary. The SD card slot is right here, as well as USB and audio video out. I'm not sure why you would want to use that. Another power button if you want to turn it off and on with the screen open. Here on the other side is the battery, and this can hold up to this full-size large battery so you can film for hours, but you can also hold smaller ones. To release it, you press the button and push it into the right, and there are plenty of these aftermarket batteries available affordably along with chargers. Another nice thing is the headphone output. You can listen while you're recording, so that's nice for live audio monitoring, especially if you're using a microphone. Make sure everything is working okay. And right here you'll see channel 1 and channel 2. You'll be able to see the stereo audio levels to monitor, make sure everything's working okay. You can press the info button to see information on the screen regarding the battery and storage. You can switch between film and still mode. And here's manual and auto mode. Switches between intelligent auto and manual. And you can use this knob to adjust different settings in manual. It's nice to be able to adjust the focus to focus on one object in the foreground or the background and blur the rest based on your proximity to it. And one thing I did mention before in previous reviews was the microphones. Now this is something you also get on the GSTD1, and it's great sound. And even on the Cyclopetal adapter they made sure to have the microphones open because it has these nice big microphones on the side, so you get truly spatial audio. That is 3D audio to go with your 3D video. And if you've seen some of my films like New Hampshire Seasons and others that use these microphones out in nature, that spatial audio really adds to the immersion, especially if you're using a surround sound system. You'll hear like birds tweeting over there, a branch cracking over here. It's really great and accompanies 3D perfectly.